I never expected to find myself sitting alone at the Summit Hotel lounge, sipping overpriced whiskey and pretending to enjoy solitude. It was supposed to be a quick business trip, 3 nights in a mid-tier hotel, a few meetings with potential clients, and then back home to my wife, Melissa. We'd been married for nearly 7 years, a solid stretch by today's standards. We weren't perfect, but who is? We'd had our share of dry spells, long silences, and routine slipping into monotony, but I still believed in us. I thought she did too. Melissa had insisted I book a place with a bar so you can unwind, she said, her tone sweet but rehearsed. I should have sensed something was off then. She'd packed my bag for me, which she never did, and when I left, there wasn't the usual tearful kiss goodbye, just a distracted, "Don't forget your charger." The Summit had a certain vintage charm, mahogany paneling, dim lighting, and a piano in the corner that hadn't been played in decades. It was classy in the way old money liked to pretend it still mattered. And that bar, it became more than just a place to unwind. I met Ryan on my first night there. He was the bartender, maybe mid-30s, smooth-voiced with an easy grin that made you feel like you were already old friends. There was something disarming about him. He could remember everyone's drink, could read moods like a fortune teller, and had this way of leaning in that made you feel seen. Melissa showed up on the second night. I thought I was hallucinating at first. She walked in wearing that emerald green dress, the one from our honeymoon. Her hair was curled the way I liked it, but she hadn't done that in years. I called her name, confused, heart racing. She froze, turned, and for a second, I saw panic. Then it morphed into something calm, practiced. "Darren," she said, like she wasn't expecting me. Like she hadn't known I was staying here. "What are you doing here?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. Her gaze flicked past me, toward the bar. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Conference," she said. "Last minute. HR networking event." It was a terrible lie. Melissa worked in marketing. Ryan appeared behind the bar just then, wiping a glass, and his eyes lit up when he saw her. "Hey, Mel." Mel. Not Melissa. The way he said it, it was too casual. Too familiar. And she smiled at him with a softness I hadn't seen in years. Not since before our second miscarriage. Not since things got quiet and we stopped asking each other how we were really doing. Something inside me sank. She didn't sit with me. Said she was tired. Went up to her room 512. I know because I watched her hand the keycard to Ryan, watched him take it without hesitation, watched them exchange a look that was louder than any confession. I didn't follow them. I couldn't. I just sat there, finishing a drink I no longer wanted, my mind trying to catch up to the truth that had just strolled into the room wearing my wife's face. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. Around 2 a.m., I walked past the elevators and stopped in front of room 512. I didn't knock. I didn't want to know what I already knew. But I stayed there for a long time, listening. Nothing dramatic happened, no yelling, no dramatic footsteps down the hallway. Just silence. That awful kind of silence that confirms your worst fears. By morning, I had a plan. Not revenge. Not confrontation. Just answers. And I wasn't leaving this hotel until I got them. The next morning, I pretended like nothing had happened. Melissa was already at the breakfast buffet when I arrived. She was wearing a crisp blouse, hair pulled back, a conference badge around her neck with the name of some made-up organization. She smiled when she saw me like the night before hadn't happened. Like I hadn't watched her hand a keycard to a man who wasn't her husband. "Morning," she said, voice cheerful, almost too bright. "Didn't expect to see you up so early." "I couldn't sleep," I replied, letting the words hang there. "Oh," she said, a forkful of scrambled eggs halfway to her mouth. "Room too loud," I added. We made small talk. About the weather. The coffee. Her conference. Not once did she ask what I was doing here. Not once did she acknowledge the impossibility of us being in the same hotel by coincidence. She just smiled, played the part of the supportive spouse, and then said she had a morning panel. "I'll see you later," she said, and kissed my cheek like everything was normal. By noon, I knew what I needed to do. I called the front desk and asked to book a massage at the spa. Just to cover. While on the phone, I made a second request room service to 512. I said I was treating my wife and her co-worker. "Yes, Mr. Wells," the clerk chirped. "We'll deliver right away." Then I waited. I knew what I was doing. I just didn't know how far I'd go. 10 minutes later, I followed the room service cart down the hallway, keeping a safe distance. The young man pushing it knocked once, then opened the door. A voice I didn't recognize called, "Just leave it on the table." I slipped inside before the door closed. Melissa was curled up on the bed, robe loosely tied. Ryan was shirtless, sitting near the window, sipping coffee like this was a morning ritual. Neither of them looked surprised to see me. Ryan stood slowly. "Darren," he said calmly, like we were old friends meeting for brunch. Melissa sat up straighter, pulling the robe tighter. "It's not what it looks like." I almost laughed. That line, so lazy, so cliché, it was insulting. "Really?" I said. "Because it looks like my wife has been sleeping with a bartender in a hotel I just happened to be staying at." She sighed, like she was tired of pretending. "You weren't supposed to find out like this." "So, you admit it?" "Yes," she said, voice brittle. "I admit it." I turned to Ryan. "Do you sleep with all your guests, or just the ones with wedding rings?" He didn't flinch. "I didn't seek this out. She came to me." That hurt more than I expected. Melissa stood, now fully dressed in regret. "Darren. I didn't plan to hurt you." "No," I said. "You just didn't plan to get caught." She looked down. "Things haven't been right between us for a long time." "And you thought this would fix it?" "I don't know. Maybe I wanted to feel something again." He made me feel like I still mattered. There it was. The truth. Ugly. Raw. Human. I nodded slowly. "You do matter. Just not to me anymore." For a moment, she looked like she might cry. But she didn't. Instead, she turned to Ryan, who gave her a nod. It felt like a torch being passed, like she had already decided which life she was going to live. I walked out, not waiting for her to stop me. That night, I packed my things and drove home in silence. No music. No distractions. Just the hum of the engine and the fading image of the woman I thought I knew. When I got home, I pulled out the old photo album from our wedding and flipped through it. Not because I missed her, but because I needed to remember the exact moment I lost her. I needed to see it in her eyes, the beginning of the end. We weren't a tragedy. We were a slow fade. And the hotel room was just the final scene.